All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. Today, we're going to be looking at the Macedonians. Okay, you're going to learn about one particular guy named Alexander the Great. Okay, now you may or may not have heard of him before, but today you're going to learn about who he was, why he became what he became, and basically what he did during his very short life. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here is your warm-up picture. The first question asks you, based off your own words, what's going on here? Okay. The second question, however, asks you, do you think those that were lost, that have lost the battle, will be allowed to live? So if you look to your right and to the bottom part, you see there's some people still alive. You can obviously tell they're from the other side, but they are alive and they're kind of covering themselves, things like that. What do you think is going to happen to them? Do you think they'll be killed? Do you think they'll be their lives will be spared? Do you think they'll be taken into slavery? Do you think that they'll be sacrificed? I mean, what do you think is going to happen to them? Okay, what do you believe? All right, so pause the video, write your responses to the warm-up questions because we're moving on, right? In three, two, one. All right. So here's the thing about the Greeks. They viewed the Macedonians as barbarians, all right, less than them, because they were like, well, they don't have the same intellect as us, and things like that. They don't have the art, the literature, the philosophy like we do. So yeah, these guys are below us. However, in 359 BC, Philip II took power of the Macedonian throne. Now, what made him unique compared to his ancestors and stuff like that was that he actually admired the Greeks. The other Macedonian kings looked at the Greek culture like, oh my God, they think we're barbarians. Well, they are this and that, la la la. They saw negative stuff at them. Whereas Philip II saw, like, you know what? If we learn their philosophy, we learn their art, their literature, things like that, that is only going to help us grow and be bigger than we are right now. So that's how he was different from the other past Macedonian kings. He saw the Greeks as we can learn from them. We just got to do it, and see that, hey, they do have something to offer. Just because they hate us, look down on us, doesn't mean we have to do the same to them. So in 338, he was able to basically unite Greece and Macedonia at one battle near the Thebes. All right. And because of what happened with the Spartans and the Athenians and all these other places, Greece was very weak and Macedonia was able to conquer them quite easily. Now, he told Greece to form a league and to cooperate with them as he went to war with Persia. Well, the thing is, before he could invade Asia and all that places and Persia, he was assassinated. And this left the next heir, his son, to take over. And his son name was Alexander. So here's my first question to you. Would you take orders from someone who is younger than you? Okay, so let's say minimum 4 years younger, right? So if you're 16, let's say they're 12, okay? Um, just imagine like that. So like, let's say if you ever played a sport, basketball, football, whatever, um, the person who's in charge of calling the plays and stuff like that, or setting things up, they're a lot younger than you. They're 4 years younger than you. Are you going to listen to them? Or are you going to be like, what does this kid know? I'm older, I know more, I know better than them, you know, or would you listen? Okay, so be honest, write down your response. Okay. Pause the video because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right. The reason I asked that question was because the thing is, when Alexander took over, he was 20 years old. Okay. And he was now officially the king of the Macedonians. Now, the thing is, his father, Philip II, wanted to make sure that Alexander was going to be a great leader. So what he did is he actually took his son on campaigns with him and told him, "This is how you do it. This is how you if your enemies coming this way. This is how you counterattack. If there's mountains, if it's raining, if you have a lot of horses, they don't. This is the kind of food you can eat in the battlefield. This is type you can't eat. All kinds of different knowledge he's teaching Alexander. And on top of that, Alexander learned basic military leadership. So he learned quite a bit, you know, in his lifetime, up until 20 years old, right? Now, right away, first thing Alexander wants to do when he's king is invade Persia, get back for what they did to his father, all right? Now, Alexander did have a motive to attack, get revenge for his father, but also his dad basically kind of got into his head too that battle and war is for glory. Yes, personal glory, but also the glory of the empire. When people talk about Macedonia, they should be saying it with respect. Some countries who um, are not in the taken over yet, they should fear them, you know, and those that have been conquered, they should speak the name Macedonians with respect, So it was all about the glory, personal and for the empire, but also again, Alexander the Great wanted revenge. Okay, so he eventually did. He eventually did get revenge against the Persians, and then he decided, you know what? Let's attack Asia Minor and let's just keep going and fighting. All right, and this was in 334 BC, and he took about with him 37,000 soldiers. Nowadays, that doesn't sound like okay, well, that's a good size, but back then that was like a huge army. Okay, and they're gonna leave Macedonia and go around conquering. All right, so hopefully you can see uh, my little arrow over here. So you can see they go through here, they go down this part, Asia Minor, they come down, they battle, they go alongside. Right here, Jerusalem, they invade Egypt. They go through here, take over, come around, come back around up here, and up down towards uh, the Persia. They come through, go through Persia, just attacking here and here and there. Make a little stop here to come back around. And so you can see they're just making their way all the way through Persia, current day like Turkey, something like that, and they're just dominating all the way through, coming around, and come back around. So he's conquering places left and right. He's winning battles. Um, he went as far as Pakistan at one point. At that time, it was like, wow, that's pretty far. He's like, let's keep going. You know, let's let's go, right? Um, and in 326, he actually crossed the Indus River, which is way over here. Okay. Um, and after years of fighting, the soldiers are basically like, okay, we're done. We're done. We've been fighting for such a long time. Yeah, we've been winning, which is awesome, but we're tired. We want to go home. And Alexander had no choice but to go back home. So he returned to Babylon. All right. Now, those of you guys who have played sports, competitively, you know that sometimes you get hurt during a match. And sometimes you feel it, sometimes you don't. But no matter what happens, when you rest, you really feel it. And that's what happens to Alexander. In 323, he's home, he's like exhausted, right? At the same time, he's also planning future conquests. Okay, next time we go out there, we're gonna keep going up north, and we're gonna keep going more east, conquering more areas. But his body has been hurt, and it's trying to recover and things like that. He's also relaxing too quite a bit. He's eating, he's drinking a lot, and the thing is, he's gets a fever. Well, because he hasn't really been taking care of himself, and now that he's trying to rest, he's, like I said, drinking and eating a lot. Um, his body can't fight the fever, and he eventually dies. Um, and when he dies, he's only 32 years old. So if you look at that map, he conquered all that area in 12 years. And again, they marched horses, camels, things like that, sometimes on foot. Okay. This is not just flat plain land. These are mountains and canyons and hills and dust storms and things like that. It's tough land to march through, and yet they did that. And in 12 years, they conquered all that area. Pretty impressive. All right, here's question number 2. A famous quote about Alexander the Great says, "And Alexander wept, seeing as he had no more worlds to conquer." Basically, he had conquered the known world, what they knew at that time, you know. So, do you think Alexander the Great could have conquered, quote unquote, the entire world over there, that side? 'Cause remember, they don't know about what's happening here in North America and South America, But I'm talking on that side, Europe, Africa, Asia. Do you think he would have conquered all that land if he had lived to be an old age? So you saw how much he conquered in 12 years. What do you think he would have conquered in another like 20 years? Do you think he would have conquered the whole world? Do you think somebody would have eventually outsmarted him, been better at war, have better military mind than him? So what do you think? All right, write down what you believe. Pause the video, okay? Because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. So Alexander the Great wanted a special carriage made and a special tomb made when he died. He also wanted to be mummified like the Egyptians did to pharaohs. Problem was, because he died suddenly and at 32, the carriage, the tomb, they weren't even started yet. And so it's like, okay, well, we need to start making it now. So let's start making it. Well, how long is it going to take? The way he wants it, about 2 years. Well, you can't leave a body out for 2 years. So what they did was they put his body in a container and they put honey. Okay, now I'm sure you're wondering, well, why honey? Honey, believe it or not, is the only food that doesn't spoil. It does not spoil. Okay, there is no air in it, so air usually is the thing that makes things corrode and become bad. You know, So again, like if you get a piece of meat from like sandwich meat, you throw it outside, the heat, air, things like that, it makes it smell, it makes it contract, it makes it rot. All right. Same thing like if you put, even if you don't put it, something in the heat, just keep something in the jar, a piece of meat or whatever, it's still gonna rot because there's air there. Honey, there's no air. All right. And honey is like honestly the pharaohs that were buried years, centuries ago. Um, you can actually it's honey is hard. You can break it and but still eat it. Okay, so they put his body in the honey. Um, 2 years come, they have the carriage, they have the tomb, they do the whole process of mummifying him. They wrap him up, they put him in the tomb and with the special carriage, and they have a funeral for him. Here's the thing: because of lost records, because of pillaging and burning and destroying stuff, um, that conquering people didn't know what it was. They just, oh, this looks cool. oh, this has gold. Let's take it apart. Let's destroy this. Um, his body and tomb is lost. Nobody knows where they're at. This picture I have here, this is an idea that they have of what his tomb would look like. Depicting a battle here on each side. It's a different battle. It's supposed to be big, grand, elegant looking. Um, that's what they think more likely it looked like. So that's why I have the picture. But there is no definitive answer to how it looked like exactly. Okay. So here's your next question. Do you believe Alexander the Great deserves that nickname, the Great? What do you think? Why or why not? Okay, justify your reasoning. All right, if you don't know how to start the sentence, how to start the idea going, the writing prompts on the bottom, help yourself. Okay, so go ahead, put down your thoughts. Does he deserve that nickname, Alexander the Great? Okay. So, now for your exit ticket. Tell me something you learned today. Tell me something that you found interesting, or like you're like, what, I'm probably gonna remember that till I get older. You know, what is something you found interesting, something you learned today? Okay. So that's it. That's it for this lesson. Hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I really do hope you guys learned something new. Okay. If you enjoyed it, awesome. But I really want you guys to have learned something. Okay. So that's it. I will see you guys in class. Right. So you take care. You be safe. I'll see you guys later.